This year, the Goodwood Festival of Speed celebrated its 30th anniversary. It's a major part of what Goodwood is calling Goodwood 75, which is basically a year of anniversary celebrations. And I remember back in 1993 when the first festival was announced and they used this photograph of Charles March in front of Goodwood House with one or two of the cars that were going to go up his drive, and I was really tempted to go. Others were also tempted, and Charles and his team of enthusiasts were overwhelmed as over 25,000 people turned up. And returning to it this year, I was amazed at what an enormous event it now is. So what is the Goodwood Festival of Speed? I guess it's strictly a hill climb event with a motor show thrown in and also a sprinkling of an English garden party. Cars from all eras sprint up the Goodwood Drive, and it's certainly not just vintage and classic cars. It also includes contemporary hypercars and Formula One cars, and I think that's why it attracts a far different crowd to the revival. There's a far greater number of younger people and there's a bigger international audience. To highlight the variety on show, for example, you have the car that won the very first Le Mans 24 Hours, as well as the actual Ferrari that won the latest 24-hour race just a few months ago, proudly displaying the actual trophy alongside. Big banger sports cars from the late 60s and early 70s were out in force, as well as those from the dawn of motoring. Contemporary Formula One cars and their drivers are also there just a week after the British Grand Prix. At the centre of it all is the sculpture, created once again by Jerry Judder. This year it was a celebration of Porsche's past, future and present, as they were also celebrating their 75th anniversary. Parked on the drive surrounding the sculpture were significant examples of the marque, and this one really caught my eye. Yes, it's a 356, but this is the first Porsche back in 1951 to race at Le Mans. It actually won its 1100cc class, and that win was the birth of motorsport for Porsche. And that is a Porsche tractor towing one of its recent Le Mans hybrid cars. And you may think that this is just a normal Porsche 911. It is in actual fact the millionth 911 built. This, I believe, is chassis number 356/1, the first real car created by Ferry Porsche post-war. And if you allow me a quick self-indulgent story, my grandfather actually knew Ferry Porsche and met him in Germany, where at a restaurant Ferry talked to him about a new sports car that he was designing. He actually scribbled down some notes and bullet points on the back of the menu, and that car became the Porsche 356. And thankfully we still have that menu at home, so a little bit of history there. Moving on to this absolutely gorgeous car, the Carrera GTS, a 1964 car, 2 litres, sold to Team Holland, and hence why it's in that eye-catching orange paint. It actually scored a class win at the Nürburgring 1000 kilometres back in 1964, as well as coming 8th overall at Le Mans that year. The Porsche 962, the most successful sports car in history, the pinnacle of 1980s engineering. This car set pole at Le Mans in 1987. There's also a concourse competition at the festival held on the Cartier lawn. Walking to the bottom of the Cartier lawn allowed us to see some of the cars congregating before going up the hill, and that's where we came across Babs, the 1926 land speed record holder. It's powered by a Liberty V12 aero engine, and I thought Geraint Owen, who's sitting there in the cockpit, was joking when he told bystanders to put their fingers in their ears before he started that engine. But wow, it was loud. This eclectic group was known as Return to Racing, as all the cars are split into groups as they go up the hill. And it was a celebration of the cars that now race at the revival and the members meeting. This was a great looking car, the 1969 5-litre V8 Prunello Ford. I'd never seen it before, and evidently it's a car that raced in Argentina in period, but a wonderful looking thing. And of course, that's Duncan Pittaway in the Beast of Turin. Followed by the immortal Alfa P3 of 1934, one of the Scuderia Ferrari cars. And then the superb sounding V12 Sunbeam Tiger, driven by Patrick Blakeney Edwards. Then Julian Majube in the Maserati 26M. He has such a wonderful collection of cars. Then, for something completely different, the McMurtry electric car that broke the hill record last year. It's like it's from a different planet. The speed is just unbelievable. McLaren was celebrating their 60th birthday, and what a collection of cars they brought along. And that's quite an eclectic driver lineup there listed on the door. And here was Derek Bell, the 5 times winner of the Le Mans 24 Hours, as well as the Daytona 24 Hours, sitting in his McLaren, waiting to take it up the hill. I think that's a 7-litre V8 Chevrolet engine that he's got behind him there. And this, the car that started it all for Bruce McLaren. He built this with his dad from a box of bits. It's a 1929 Austin 7 Special. At 15, Bruce won his first victory in it. And of course, it was sadly at Goodwood that Bruce lost his life in a testing accident in 1970. And perhaps it was right that it was the McLaren Solus that took the fastest time of the day. It's a limited production, track-only V10 GT car. It has a single central seat and the cockpit lid slides forward, which gives it this really futuristic look and somewhat like a jet aircraft or something like that. What struck me about the Festival of Speed is the significant number of supercar manufacturers that are on board and use it to release their newest machines, such as the Bugatti with their one-off bolide, and the Pininfarina Battista. Bentley as well were using the festival to show their new Speed 6 continuation model. But there was also probably the most significant Bentley in the paddock. This is Old Number 1, named after its start number in the 1929 Le Mans race. Woolf Barnato drove it to back-to-back victories in 1929 and 1930. And you can't mention Le Mans without reference to the Ford GT40, and this one in particular, as it was the first car over the line in 1966. We all remember that photo finish, now of course in the film Le Mans 66. This is the car, number 2, that went over the line first and is immortalised now in that film. And another iconic Le Mans car, the Alfa Romeo 2.38C. I'm lucky enough to say that we had one of these in our family once, and maybe that's why I feel such affection for these Italian supercars of the late 20s and early 30s. This is a 1934 car. 4 cars were entered in the 1934 Le Mans race, and rather famously the Tanzlan car, which had holed its radiator, had it fixed by pressing chewing gum over the hole. Of course, Enzo Ferrari used to run the Alfa racing team until he left to create his own company. And here are 2 beautiful examples of the Ferrari marque, a 250 TR and a 166 Mille Barchetta. This was a 1958 works car which finished 3rd in the Targa Florio with Hawthorne and Wolfgang von Trips driving. But more importantly, This was the very car that won Le Mans in 1958 with Phil Hill at the wheel. The 166 Barchetta next to it has a significance to the festival itself though. This was the very first car driven at that first Festival of Speed up the hill. It was driven by Sally Mason-Steeren, who sadly passed away earlier this year. But yes, that was the car that opened the very first Festival of Speed. It's a 2-litre V12 engine. Wow, that's what and the gorgeous Ferrari 275p. And this was the car that won Le Mans in 1963 with Scarfiotti and Bandini at the wheel. And the treats just kept on coming. How about this? The Mercedes Benz W165, a 1.5-litre V8 engine. This is the actual car that won the 1939 Tripoli Grand Prix, driven by Hermann Lang. And if that's not enough, how about Fangio's Mercedes Benz 300 SLR? This is numbered 658 as that was the time it started on the Mille Miglia when it went down the ramp with Fangio at the wheel. A straight 8 3-litre engine. We're probably more familiar with Stirling Moss's car, which has obviously been seen at the Festival of Speed and the Revival, I think. But this is not quite as important, but Fangio's Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR is really, again, a significant piece of history. And next to it, the Mercedes-Benz W194, built in 1952. This was the car that won Le Mans that year, with Hermann Lang at the wheel. It had a smaller engine than the Jags and Ferraris, but it was a bit lighter, and that slippery shape gave it the winning edge. So more modern Mercedes were seen going up the hill, as well as this a Curiacos Jaguar D-Type. That's a very similar car, but that's actually a Tejero Jag driven by Harvey Stanley. And another Le Mans winner. This is the Lagonda M45 Rapide that won Le Mans in 1935. And that, of course, is Nick Swift with his foot firmly planted to the floor in his Mini Cooper S. And of course, after the cars go up the hill, they have to come down again. And they're going a tad slower, so you have the chance to look at them in far more detail. Testing years of the Goodwood circuit were also celebrated, and these were the years after the circuit closed in '66 and before it opened again in 1998 for the Revival. And this is Marcus Black in the Lola Chevrolet, 8.5 litres that engine size is, and that's part of this group celebrating the testing years. So, if you're not lucky enough to be driving up the hill in reality, you could at least try the virtual reality version. This is in fact the motor circuit, but it may be the closest that most of us get to driving a Ferrari 250 GTO. So the Sunday came to a close, and it was unfortunate that they had to cancel the Saturday due to the adverse weather conditions. But we will certainly be coming back to see the rally stage and the BMXers, which we didn't have a chance to see. But it was an exhilarating and, dare I say, exhausting day, but well worth it. Just before you go, do please take a moment to visit the new Historic Sports Car Collection website. You'll find the latest classic cars we've got for sale, with their detailed descriptions and prices. Also, under our market picks, you can see what tempting classics are available elsewhere on the market and coming up for auction. We also have an extensive collection of automobilia and collectibles which are up for sale, and you can access those through the website. The blog will tell you where we've been and what we've been up to, with event reports and videos. So you will find all this and more at the Historic Sports Car Collection website, which is www.historicsportscarcollection.co.uk.